Chapter 1. Arrival. The morning was unusually quiet in the observatory when the radar picked up an anomaly. Dr. Jack Harper, leading the team of scientists at the facility, squinted at the screen, adjusting his glasses. "Could be a glitch," mumbled his assistant, but Jack's intuition suggested otherwise. Hours later, confirmation came. It was an alien spacecraft, descending toward Earth. The world's governments swiftly reacted, assembling a team of experts, including Jack, to make first contact. The landing site was a secluded area in the Nevada desert, cordoned off and bristling with military presence, though everyone hoped for a peaceful encounter. As the alien ship touched down, a sense of awe filled the air. The hatch opened slowly, revealing beings unlike any humans had seen before. Tall, with translucent skin and a graceful demeanor, the Valari stepped out onto Earth's soil. Jack approached first, his hand extended. "Welcome to Earth. I'm Dr. Jack Harper." He introduced himself. The Valari, who introduced himself as Thal, tilted his head, studying Jack's gesture before mimicking it. "I am Thal. We come in peace and seek your aid." His voice was a soft echo, resonating slightly as if carried by a gentle wind. Jack nodded, understanding the gravity of their plea. "What brings you to us, Thal?" "Our world is lost," Thal explained, his luminous eyes reflecting a profound sadness. "We fled from a disaster of our own making, seeking a new home among the stars. Earth is our last hope." The dialogue was interrupted by the arrival of Colonel Mitchell, the military liaison. Unlike Jack, his approach was cautious, his eyes wary. "We're here to ensure this goes smoothly for all parties," he stated firmly, offering a curt nod to Thal. Jack turned to Mitchell. "Colonel, the Valari mean no harm. They've come seeking refuge." Mitchell's gaze lingered on Thal. "We have protocols for this, Harper. Let's keep to them." Thal looked between the two men, a frown creasing his brow. "We understand your caution," he said. "We have much to learn from each other." Jack smiled. "Let's start with your immediate needs. Shelter, food, and perhaps medical attention. Yes, and information. We wish to understand more about your world," Thal added. As the sun set over the desert, the temporary encampment buzzed with activity. Tents were erected and supplies were brought in. Jack, Thal, and a few other scientists from both species gathered around a map spread out on a makeshift table. "We have set up accommodations here," Jack pointed out. "You'll find Earth's environment similar to your own, though the night might be colder than you're used to." Thal nodded. "We are adaptable. What we seek most is understanding and, hopefully, acceptance." Jack's team and the Valari exchanged ideas and plans deep into the night. The initial wariness gave way to a cautious optimism. Earth had its first interstellar guests, and Jack felt a profound responsibility not just to his own kind, but to these new arrivals whose future was now entwined with humanity. As they wrapped up, Jack looked at the stars, then at Thal. "Let's make this work. For both our peoples." Thal's answer was a serene smile, his face illuminated by the starlight. "For both our peoples," he echoed. The chapter closes as the camp settles down for the night, the Earth and Valari scientists mingling under the vast, starry sky, sharing stories of their worlds, beginning the slow process of building trust and understanding. Chapter 2. The meeting. The sun rose over the Nevada desert, casting long shadows from the tents that housed the world's newest visitors. Inside the main tent, Jack Harper was already preparing for a day that would likely shape the future of human-alien relations. He was joined by Dr. Aaron Lee, a sociologist, and Commander Eric Sanders, who was responsible for the security of the camp. Jack briefed them as they walked towards the Valari's section. "Today's focus is on understanding their social structure and technology," he explained. We need to establish a framework for communication and cooperation. Commander Sanders, always the skeptic, adjusted his cap. And keep an eye out for any potential threats, he added, his tone serious. Dr. Lee chuckled lightly. Let's hope our diplomacy works better than our paranoia, Commander. They arrived at the Valari quarters where Thal and another Valari, Soren, greeted them warmly. The interior of the tent was simple but functional, with devices and materials unfamiliar to human eyes. "Welcome, friends," Thal began, gesturing to the seats arranged in a circle. "Today we share knowledge and hope for fruitful discussions." Soren, who had been quiet, spoke up. "We also look forward to learning from you. Your world is rich with culture and history." The meeting commenced with Jack explaining human governance and societal norms. Dr. Lee took notes, occasionally interjecting with questions about Valari family structures and community roles. Thal was keen on sharing as well. "Our society values the collective knowledge and harmony above all. Each Valari contributes to the community based on their skills and interests." Commander Sanders asked, "And what about conflict? How do you handle disputes?" Soren answered, "With dialogue and consensus. It is rare for us to escalate to conflict. We have learned that understanding and patience yield better outcomes." Jack nodded, impressed. "It seems we have much to learn from each other." The conversation shifted to technology. Soren led the group outside where a small device was set up. "This is a communication tool," he explained, activating it. The device emitted a holographic display showing complex diagrams and symbols. Dr. Lee was fascinated. Could this help with language translation? "Yes," Soren confirmed. "It is designed to bridge communication gaps, a crucial tool for our travels." As the morning turned into afternoon, the group had lunch together, sharing both human and Valari food. The informal setting helped relax everyone, and personal stories began to flow. Jack shared anecdotes from his travels, and Thal reciprocated with tales of Valari explorations. Commander Sanders, initially reserved, found common ground with Soren over their mutual interest in tactical strategies, albeit for different purposes. "Seems like you're more about avoiding conflict than engaging in it," Sanders remarked. "True," Soren smiled. "Prevention is better than cure, as we like to say." The day ended with a tour of the human facilities, with Thal and Soren expressing particular interest in Earth's environmental technologies. Jack was pleased with the progress. "Let's keep this momentum going. There's a lot we can achieve together." As the sun set, the teams parted ways, each with a new respect for the other's culture and technologies. Jack lingered behind, watching the stars appear. The peaceful exchange of ideas had given him hope that perhaps this unusual alliance could indeed work. Today was a good day, he thought to himself, feeling a rare sense of optimism about the days to come. Chapter 3: Integration Challenges. The integration of the Valari into human society was progressing, but not without its hurdles. Jack Harper found himself in the middle of a delicate situation, fielding concerns from both his human colleagues and their new alien friends. The morning briefing included Jack, Dr. Aaron Lee, and the newly involved Dr. Marcus Webb, an expert in intercultural relations. They gathered in the conference tent, papers and digital pads scattered across the table. "Public opinion is mixed," Dr. Webb started, tapping on his pad to bring up recent survey data. "There's support for the Valari integration, but also significant fear and mistrust. We need to address this carefully." Jack nodded, his face lined with concern. "We need more positive exposure. Perhaps more joint projects that highlight the benefits of Valari technology and philosophy." Commander Eric Sanders joined the meeting, his presence commanding. Security at these events will need to be tight. The last thing we need is an incident. As they strategized, Thal and another Valari representative, Joran, were invited to join. Thal greeted everyone warmly, though the weight of the discussion was evident in his posture. Thal, Joran, we were just discussing how to improve human-Valari relations publicly, Jack explained, gesturing towards the data on the screen. Joran, who had taken a keen interest in human media, suggested, perhaps a series of educational broadcasts? We can share our science and culture. Understanding diminishes fear. Dr. Lee perked up at the idea. That's a solid start. We could pair those with workshops and open days here at the camp. The group agreed, and plans were made. The first event was a science fair, showcasing Valari technology alongside human advances. Jack and Thal worked closely to ensure the presentations were accessible and engaging. On the day of the fair, the local community was invited to attend. The air was buzzing with curiosity and a hint of tension as families, students, and the media roamed the booths. Jack and Thal opened the event with a short speech. "Today is about sharing and learning from each other," Jack announced to the crowd, Thal nodding in agreement beside him. As the day progressed, Jack noticed a group of people looking skeptically at a Valari energy device. He approached them with a smile. "Curious about how it works?" he asked. One man, clearly trying to maintain a polite distance, nodded. "Yeah, but how do we know it's safe?" Jack gestured for Thal to join. Thal, understanding the man's concern, explained the device's function and safety measures. "It is very similar to your solar panels, but more efficient. It harnesses light and converts it with minimal waste." The man listened, nodding slowly as Thal provided a clear, concise explanation. The interaction ended with a handshake, the man's initial skepticism softened by the friendly and transparent discussion. Throughout the day, similar conversations took place. Dr. Lee and Dr. Webb facilitated discussions, helping to bridge gaps in understanding and culture. As the event wound down, Commander Sanders, who had been quietly observing from the sidelines, approached Jack. "Looks like it went well," he conceded, his usual sternness tempered by the day's success. "It's a step in the right direction," Jack agreed, watching a group of children laughing around Joran, who was demonstrating a Valari game. That night, back at their meeting tent, the team debriefed. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, with many attendees expressing a newfound appreciation for the Valari's peaceful intentions and innovative technology. "We'll build on this," Jack concluded, feeling a cautious optimism. "One event at a time." As the others nodded in agreement, Jack felt a renewed commitment to the cause. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but today had shown that progress was possible. Chapter 4. Understanding through language. The next phase of integration focused on deepening communication between humans and Valari. Jack Harper and Thal were at the forefront, committed to developing a hybrid language that could bridge the gap between the two species. In a brightly lit room filled with linguistic databases and translation devices, Jack met with Thal and Dr. Simon Torres, a linguist renowned for his work on constructed languages. The trio was surrounded by screens displaying Valari symbols and human alphabets. "Language is not just about words," Dr. Torres explained as he adjusted the settings on a language model. "It's about understanding context, culture, and nuances. This hybrid language needs to encapsulate the essence of both our worlds." Thal nodded, his eyes reflecting a serious dedication. "In Valari culture, our words flow like water, flexible and layered. Each phrase can have multiple meanings depending on the situation." Jack took notes, fascinated. "Humans often rely on direct communication, but we do appreciate subtlety. There's a richness in learning to express ourselves in new ways." As they worked, Thal introduced more Valari terms, explaining their cultural significance. Dr. Torres recorded each entry, meticulously noting the phonetics and possible human equivalents. "Let's try constructing a sentence," Dr. Torres suggested. "Something simple. How about, 'The morning brings new possibilities'?" Thal translated it into Valari, and the nuances captured everyone's interest. The translation wasn't just literal. It carried a sense of renewal and hope intrinsic to Valari philosophy. Jack attempted to pronounce the Valari sentence, causing Thal to chuckle at his first attempt. "Close, Jack. The intonation rises slightly at the end, like the sun rising." With Thal's coaching, Jack improved. They recorded his attempts, and Dr. Torres analyzed the acoustic patterns. "This is good," Dr. Torres said. "It's not just about learning a language. It's about understanding each other's ways of seeing the world." The afternoon was spent in similar exchanges, with each man teaching and learning in turn. The atmosphere was one of mutual respect and curiosity. To test their progress, they decided to hold a small workshop with other members of the human and Valari teams. Jack, Thal, and Dr. Torres presented basic phrases and their significance in both languages. Commander Eric Sanders attended, curious about the project's impact on security and cooperation. "If we're going to work together, we might as well understand each other," he remarked gruffly, though his interest in the workshop was evident. The participants practiced greeting each other, expressing gratitude, and sharing simple personal information. Laughter filled the room as tongues twisted around unfamiliar sounds, but the effort made the interaction more meaningful. As the workshop wrapped up, Jack reflected on the progress. Today was about more than just words. It was about seeing the world through each other's eyes. And maybe that's the key to true understanding. Thal agreed, his voice warm. Yes, today was a significant step. Speaking someone's language is like walking through their thoughts. We are closer now, not just in space but in spirit. Dr. Torres packed up his equipment, optimistic about the next steps. "I'll compile what we've learned today and update our language models. We have real potential here." The chapter closed with the team feeling a sense of accomplishment. They had not only constructed sentences, but had begun to weave together the fabric of a shared future. The task was daunting, but the foundation they built promised a new level of understanding and cooperation. Chapter 5: Shared Bonds. The successful language workshop marked a turning point in human-Valari relations, fostering not just mutual understanding but also personal connections. Jack Harper found his interactions with Thal deepening, evolving into a friendship that transcended their official roles. On a cool evening, Jack and Thal walked together along the perimeter of the camp, the fading light casting long shadows on the ground. Their conversation flowed easily now, a mixture of English and Valari, each helping the other with difficult pronunciations. "Your world is beautiful in ways I did not anticipate," Thal remarked, his gaze lingering on the horizon where the sun set in a blaze of colors. Jack smiled, pleased. "And I'm finding your perspectives on community and cooperation refreshing. It's a contrast to our often individualistic approach." As they walked, their discussion turned to more personal topics. Thal shared stories of his home planet, its vast oceans and shimmering cities, a world lost to time and tragedy. "The beauty of your planet must have been incredible," Jack said softly, sensing Thal's loss. "It was," Thal acknowledged. "But seeing Earth, with its own unique landscapes and cultures, gives me hope." Their walk took them back to the camp, where a small gathering had formed. A couple of Valari were demonstrating a traditional form of their art, involving light and sound that created transient, mesmerizing patterns in the air. Jack and Thal joined the group, watching in fascination. The demonstration ended with an invitation for the humans to try the technique. Jack hesitated, but with encouragement from Thal, he attempted to manipulate the Valari tools. His initial attempts were clumsy, drawing gentle laughter from both humans and Valari. The shared laughter eased the lingering formalities between the two groups. Encouraged by the light-hearted atmosphere, Jack and Thal continued to interact with the crowd, discussing the art form and its significance in Valari culture. Later, as the crowd thinned, Thal turned to Jack, a contemplative expression on his face. In our culture, sharing art is sharing a part of one's soul. Tonight felt like a true sharing not just of skills, but of spirits. Jack felt a warm connection at Thal's words, realizing how much he valued their growing friendship. "I feel honored to be part of this, Thal. Your trust in sharing your culture, and your friendship, means a lot to me." They sat down on a nearby bench, continuing their conversation under the stars. The talk gradually became more introspective, touching on their hopes and fears for the future. "I worry about how our two peoples will manage the larger integration," Jack confessed. "There's still so much misunderstanding and fear to overcome." Thal nodded, understanding the weight of the task ahead. "True, but each step like tonight, every shared laugh and lesson, builds a bridge between our worlds." As the evening drew to a close, they stood to return to their respective quarters. Thal placed a hand on Jack's shoulder, a Valari gesture of deep respect and friendship. "Thank you, Jack, for walking this path with us." Jack returned the gesture, feeling a profound sense of purpose. "We'll walk it together, Thal. We'll make sure it leads to a better future for both our peoples." As Jack watched Thal walk away, he felt a surge of optimism. The night had deepened their bond, and with it, their commitment to guide their people toward peace and mutual respect. This personal connection, he realized, was the true foundation upon which a lasting peace would be built. Chapter 6. The Human Condition. In the weeks following the cultural exchange, Jack Harper and Thal increasingly focused on educational initiatives that highlighted the importance of peace and the stark contrasts between human history and Valari philosophy. They organized a seminar to be held at a local university, inviting students, academics, and the public to engage with the topic, "Why Humans Avoid War." Dr. Simon Torres joined Jack and Thal as they prepared their presentation. The auditorium was set up with displays of Earth's war artifacts contrasted against Valari artifacts of peace, tools used for resolving conflicts through dialogue. As the audience filled the seats, the air buzzed with anticipation. Jack opened the seminar with a warm welcome. "Today, we delve into a critical aspect of our history and future, our propensity towards conflict and the pathways to peace." Thal took the stage next, his tone thoughtful. "On Vila, we evolved socially to circumvent conflict. Our survival depended on it, much as yours has, but our solutions differed." Dr. Torres interjected with a historical perspective. "Human history is riddled with wars. Yet, each conflict brought about advances in law, rights, and ultimately, a collective understanding towards the benefits of peace." The seminar featured interactive sessions where participants discussed human and Valari approaches to conflict resolution. Thal was particularly interested in historical human documents like the UN Charter and treaties that ended wars. Jack facilitated a discussion on the role of diplomacy in human history. "Diplomacy," he explained, "has often been our tool for avoiding conflict, drawing from diverse cultural perspectives to find common ground." One curious student asked Thal, "How do Valari resolve misunderstandings without resorting to aggression?" Thal smiled, pleased by the question. "Through consensus. Every voice is heard, every concern addressed. It's slow but ensures that decisions are supported by all, reducing resentment." The dialogue deepened as Dr. Torres steered the conversation towards human psychological studies on aggression and peace. Humans have a complex relationship with conflict. It's driven by resource scarcity, ideological differences, but also a deep-seated need for security and community. As the seminar drew to a close, Jack reflected on the discussions. What we see is that avoiding war isn't about the absence of conflict, but about managing it constructively. Our Valari friends have shown us alternatives that we can adapt and learn from. After the seminar, the speakers and some attendees lingered to talk more personally. Jack and Thal answered questions, their rapport evident and their mission clear. Commander Sanders, who attended out of duty and curiosity, approached Jack afterward. "I have to admit, I didn't expect to be as engaged as I was today. There's merit in what you're doing, Harper." Jack chuckled, clapping Sanders on the back. "Thanks, Eric. It's about changing perspectives, starting with our own." As the crowd dispersed, Thal expressed his gratitude to Jack and Dr. Torres. Today was enlightening, not just for them, but for us as well. Understanding the human condition helps us understand our own paths to peace. Jack nodded in agreement as they packed up their materials. Each of these interactions brings us closer to a mutual understanding and respect. That's the foundation we need to build a peaceful future. The day affirmed the importance of open dialogue and education in fostering peace. Jack felt a renewed sense of hope and determination, inspired by the genuine interest and thoughtful engagement of the participants. This seminar, he believed, was just one of many steps towards a deeper, lasting peace. Chapter 7. A Symbol of Peace. After the success of their seminar, Jack Harper and Thal decided to expand their outreach by hosting a public forum in the city center, aiming to directly engage with a broader audience on the peaceful integration of the Valari. They were joined by Dr. Marcus Webb and Commander Eric Sanders, who both saw the value in supporting this initiative. Early in the morning, the team gathered at the designated forum site, arranging chairs and setting up display panels that illustrated Valari technologies alongside human advances in diplomacy and peacekeeping. "Today could really help break down some of the remaining barriers," Dr. Webb commented as he arranged the pamphlets on a table. Commander Sanders, overseeing the security setup, nodded. "People fear what they don't understand. Seeing and hearing directly from Thal could change a lot of minds." As the audience began to fill the seats, Jack reviewed the schedule. "We'll start with a brief introduction from each of us, then open up the floor. It's crucial we encourage an honest dialogue." Thal looked over the crowd, his expression serene yet attentive. "I am ready. It is important they see us as individuals, not just as a concept." The forum began with Jack's welcome speech, emphasizing the shared goals of peace and understanding. Dr. Webb followed, discussing the psychological benefits of cultural integration and diversity. When Thal took the podium, his calm demeanor and articulate speech captivated the audience. In the Valari culture, we believe in the strength of community and the power of dialogue to resolve conflicts. We hope to share this with you, learning from each other to create a harmonious existence. Commander Sanders, not usually one for public speaking, shared his perspective. "I've seen my fair share of conflicts, and I can tell you, the approach the Valari take is something we can all benefit from. It's about prevention, not just reaction." The floor was then opened to the public. A young woman raised her hand, standing up. "How do you see our two societies blending in the daily life? What changes do you foresee?" Thal responded thoughtfully. "Integration is a gradual process. We foresee joint educational programs, shared community projects, and open cultural exchanges that allow us to live and work together, learning from each other's strengths." A middle-aged man stood next, his tone a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "Aren't you worried that our problems could become your problems? That our conflicts could spill over into your community?" Jack answered this one. "That's a valid concern. Part of our initiative includes joint conflict resolution training, where we can all gain from Valari techniques of consensus and dialogue. As the questions continued, the initial hesitation from some audience members gave way to a more engaged and thoughtful interaction. People began to see the Valari not as invaders or refugees, but as neighbors and potential allies. After the forum, the team gathered to reflect on the event. "I think we reached a lot of people today," Jack said, feeling optimistic. "It's not just about changing policies, but hearts and minds." Dr. Webb added, "The personal connections made today are crucial. They transform abstract fears into concrete, positive interactions." Thal, looking out over the now empty chairs, nodded in agreement. "Each question answered, each fear addressed, brings us closer to true peace." Commander Sanders, who had watched the crowd disperse, turned to the group. "Let's keep the momentum going. What we're building here is a model for others to follow." As they packed up, the feeling of accomplishment was palpable. This forum had not only served as a platform for discussion, but as a living symbol of the peace they were all striving to create. The work was far from over, but each step forward made the goal seem more attainable. Chapter 8. A New Legacy. The initiatives Jack Harper and Thal had set in motion were now gaining traction, and the day had come to lay down a more permanent foundation for human-Valari cooperation. They, along with Dr. Marcus Webb and Commander Eric Sanders, convened in a newly established cultural exchange center, a symbol of their commitment to joint progress. As they prepared the center for its grand opening, Jack organized the final touches on the exhibitions, which showcased both human and Valari achievements. "This center is not just a place for learning, but a beacon for our united future," he remarked to the team. Thal, overseeing the installation of a Valari interactive display, nodded in agreement. "It will serve as a bridge, bringing our communities together in ways we have only begun to explore." Dr. Webb was setting up the schedule for a series of lectures and workshops that would take place at the center. "We have experts from both worlds speaking on everything from technology to philosophy. It's going to be an incredible resource." Commander Sanders, in charge of security, was also deeply involved in the planning. "I never thought I'd see the day when our defense strategies would include alien integration tactics. It's a good change." The grand opening was attended by dignitaries, scholars, and citizens from around the globe, all eager to witness this new chapter in human-Valari relations. As the ribbon was cut, applause broke out, symbolizing the collective approval and enthusiasm of the crowd. Jack took the podium first, his voice filled with pride and hope. "Today, we stand on the threshold of a new era. This center is not just a building. It is a testament to what we can achieve when we work together, learn from each other, and build on mutual respect." Thal, speaking after Jack, shared his vision for the future. "In this place, we will weave a tapestry of cultures, each thread strengthening the bond between our peoples. We look forward to a future where our combined knowledge creates solutions for peace and prosperity." The ceremony continued with a tour of the facility. Dr. Webb led a group through the human sections, explaining exhibits that detailed Earth's rich cultural heritage and tumultuous history with conflict and resolution. Thal guided another group around the Valari exhibits, which were infused with their technology and artistic expressions, each piece a narrative of their journey and the peace they cherished. As the day progressed, informal discussions sprang up between humans and Valari, each exchange brimming with curiosity and excitement. Commander Sanders found himself in a deep conversation with a Valari security delegate, both discussing the challenges of protecting such a diverse community. "I've learned that security isn't just about preparing for the worst, but creating an environment where the best can thrive," Sanders said thoughtfully. The Valari delegate nodded, adding, "And here, we can build that environment together, blending our strategies and insights." As the event wound down, Jack and Thal stood together, watching the guests depart, their conversations and laughter a music to their ears. "We did it, Thal. We actually made it happen," Jack said, a broad smile spreading across his face. Thal looked around at the buzzing center, then back at Jack. Yes, we did. But this is just the beginning. There's much more to do, and I believe we are ready for the challenges ahead. Their conversation was a quiet reflection of their journey, an acknowledgement of the hurdles they'd overcome and the pathways they had yet to explore. As the chapter closed, the Cultural Exchange Center stood as a vibrant hub of activity, its doors open to all who wished to partake in this new, shared journey. Jack, Thal, and their team had not only envisioned a peaceful future but had taken tangible steps toward realizing it. The legacy they were building would inspire generations to come, a legacy of peace, understanding, and cooperation between two very different, yet increasingly united, worlds.